Hello, howdy do, and welcome back to your next Village Idiot podcast with me, savant of the silly and struggling cynic, Daniel McKeown. It's been a minute since we've done this. I've had a lot going on, most of it low rent shit that you don't need to hear about. I got into litigation with the puppeteer. I had to figure out how to get free cat food, all this sort of stuff that meant I couldn't do this podcast. But thankfully, it's just something where I sort of ramble and chat and do everything else. Amongst other monikers that I have, for those that don't know, I'm also something of a comedian myself. I've done comedy for about 8 years, and for those outside of what we in the industry call the industry, you won't know that currently it's August 11th. Crops are dying. We're in our 5th heat wave, and the Edinburgh Fringe Festival has just hit Edinburgh. And yours truly, unfortunately, was not able to go. And because of that, you're left in the kind of vacuum of an empty London free of needy performers of the lowest form of art. Meaning that you essentially find yourself with a tiny microphone rambling on about, pubs that don't run comedy nights anymore. But since it was in my head, I thought this would be a fun opportunity to do an episode of Your Next Village Idiot that's just about my experience of comedy over the last 8 years or so, and some of the dribs and drabs of it, just because to make me feel like I've existed, I guess. I think my first show ever was for a talent show in Edinburgh. We were doing, like many annoying 17-year-olds, I was performing kind of murder mystery farce with some other sixth formers at the, it's going to kill me, the Green Something Theatre, which was amazing fun and really cool. But then there was a talent show that the theatre was hosting, and my drama teacher told me that I should do stand-up comedy. I think because rightly she saw that my skills as an actor were wanting. I've only had a few different leading roles, I would say, in my career as an actor in GCSE drama. One was Jesus for the Passion play. I played Jesus twice, actually. One for the Easter play, and one in the Trial of Judas Iscariot. Now, the first one, it's a big role, you get a lot of lines, and you get to perform at the ripe old age of 12 or 13, I think. You get to perform what you think it would be like to be crucified, which I decided to act by doing this and going like, as if I had sort of slightly sprained my side. That was what I thought was the same level of pain as having nails hammered into your hand. That was the first time I played Jesus, and then I played Jesus again in the Trial of Judas Iscariot, which he's like a janitor that's also Jesus. And I think I did some generic, awful, kind of like very much the typical English actor trying to do an American accent of like, I'm Jesus of Nazareth, and I forgive you, Judas. Like, I had one scene and I had to mostly just sweep up throughout the play to be kind of in the background as a little sort of Easter egg for people. Or in the second half, I think, which I think is good of them to give you that role. But then one of the other things I played, I think for A-level drama, actually, sorry, I should correct myself. For A-level drama, I played Hitler. So my range as an actor is really the full spectrum of Judeo-Christian morality. And that was it was a play. There's a photo of me in it still, which it haunts me to this day. It is not a fun one. I do not come off well in it. But it was a version of a play which was an absurdist play by a playwright I can't remember the name of, where they all talk gibberish, and it was people coming over for dinner in the original one, and me and my friends in our kind of A-level edgy satire. Thought it would be funny if it was 4 dictators coming together to discuss the destruction of the world, and I guess I drew the short straw and was Hitler. I drew the short moustache and had to be Hitler, which I got a B for. So if you're wondering how good a Hitler I can do, it's a B. And I do think about the invigilator of that performance, of like how well committed is he? What's the ranking system? He didn't go all the way to pure vitriolic anti-Semitism, but he is doing a passingly good German accent. I'd say if we do letter scores really, but if I was to give a description or a vibe, I'd say spitting image style Hitler. It very much the puppet. So that was, but to be fair, it could be worse. You could be Castro, which another guy Jeremy had to be. he committed, but he was not good at it. You'd pray you'd get JFK. Because JFK's that's kind of a broad kind of. But anyway, and the other one, I think I've also played at GCSE a robot that develops human feelings in a musical based on the songs of the Beatles, or based on just general jukebox musical stuff. I think you draw genres out of a hat and you have to perform that. So I played Jude, junior uranium developed engineer that was a robot who developed human feelings and then sang Hey Jude. I think that was the main excuse. It was so lazy. Again, a lot of labor jobs, a lot of jobs in our economy we don't credit enough. The drama school, the drama invigilators of our great sixth forms and secondary schools probably do not get enough credit to discern that. My God, you're stuck in various plays and you wish your kid would come out and perform, but they never will. So, given my range, my drama teacher said, I remember actually, because she didn't think I was a very good actor, because I remember one time I was playing Ross in Macbeth, and she was like, that's great, Daniel, but could you show the emotion on your face? And I was like, okay, so the note is to act better, really, is what you're telling me. It's like, if you could just understand what acting is fundamentally, and then do that in any kind of way, that would be amazing. But I don't think she saw that I had the talent for acting, but I was very good at attention seeking, so she suggested I do stand-up comedy. So I performed at this talent show, and it was very much, I think, like a lot of people's first gigs, where it was like I had a ton of people, I had like 8 friends in the audience who probably would laugh if I didn't do anything wrong, but it felt amazing and went straight to my head. And then you go out and drink, as you should, and everyone's like, yeah, you're really funny, mate, you're a really great performer, you're really funny. I don't know whatever else was going on with the other people who watched it, but I do know after that, word got round at my school that I had performed stand-up comedy, so I was asked to perform with. There was a comedy night that was a charity fundraiser, and they had 3 comedians on. It was hosted by that guy that was on Balls of Steel, who is now on Talk TV, who was very bitter actually at the time. I remember talking very bitterly about comedy or about starting young. He was like, start young, guys, that's what you should do. Because, which is not true. But they're all hanging out in the green room. The other 2 I didn't really know. He was the only sort of TV connection, I think. And they're basically, what they decided in their infinite wisdom at the school was to perform this fundraiser with 3 professional comedians performing, and then have the kind of open mic section of the night, which was me and 2 15, 14-year-olds. The show went thusly for us. The first show, the professional show, ends on a standing ovation, because of course nothing's going to top this. And then just as everyone's starting to think, oh great, we're going to leave, we're going to get home earlier than thought and have some wines, someone comes out and goes like, hey, we've actually got 3 students performing now, let's do that. And so the first guy goes up. He is talking almost exclusively about getting fucked as a child, which did not play well with with the parents there. Did not play. They didn't really like picturing that, imagining that. They didn't like the shock value of it. It was almost like I picture it like a kind of uh, sort of baby Kitson, you know, the American yelling guy. Just really didn't work well. And then the second guy ripped off a ton of Bo Burnham jokes. I think only I knew they were Bo Burnham jokes. So to everyone else, they just seemed like kind of strange, edgy epithets. And to clarify, it was like Bo Burnham in the Get Happy here era, or More Happy? I can't remember. Then I come out. I tell a story about how I look young and how badly my first kiss went when I got robbed, which we'll get to on another episode. And it is just dying in front of 60 people, I think. 60 parents just praying to go home. They've done their bit, you know, they've shown up, they've shown face to the school. They're going to get a good recommendation for a university. They've funded the arts. They are wanting to go home. They are not willing to entertain this malarkey any further. I get off and I'm like heart racing. I feel so humiliated. Like, it's genuinely so deeply embarrassing. Like, I had never had nothing like it before. Like, my heart is racing. I'm sort of sweating. I'm stood by the wall. I'm like, oh, okay. And then the guy who got the standing ovation, the other comedian, walked by. I was like, there you go. And then kind of tapped me on the back and walked off. And then I think the next one was doing Comedy Virgins in Vauxhall, which is an institution, and then the rest came after that. But that was really the clearest memory I have, because it was the first and worst, not even the worst death, but the first death that was just so brutal. It was like a rebirth. It was like just, you know, just recalibrating my brain. And from there was like a lot of deaths, I think. The whole time I did comedy from like Gamity, the whole time I did comedy from, I found old recordings of me performing in like 2017, 2018, and dare I say even 2019, where I listen back and I'm just like, God, it doesn't even sound like he's enjoying it. He sounds so nervous. I would just like frog march through a set, try and nail the lines and get off and be done with it. And I think back now and I'm just like, I don't know what made me keep doing that, other than something being deeply wrong with me. I would just, because you would be, I came up in the time where bringers were first on the scene. So like, you'd have to find a friend, drag them to the show, have them watch you. My good friend Josh Wrighton, who actually helped directed and produced my first comedy special as well. I owe him a true debt of emotional labor, because that was bleak stuff. Like, you could not get me there now. But I was just so timid, and I was so like, I think it took me a while to realize you're supposed to be loose and in the moment and enjoying it. I remember I used to really like these like more dry guys, like these more not the dry guys, like these really like people who had an energy that felt very lived in and would be kind of strange and weird. And anyway, and I love those guys. I think a lot of them have quit, actually, which is a shame. That is a thing as well. You do have to think about quitting a lot, even after when you've done it a few years and nothing's happening. It's actually healthy to think about quitting, because you'll be like, okay, what would it be like without this? Because then it's like, no, nothing would happen. I would have no outlet. Like, and for me at this point, I can't quit, because I know if I quit comedy tomorrow, I would end up writing really long-winded and unnecessary reviews of like latest Disney Plus shows on Facebook. And I just can't do that to people. I would be writing stuff just like, ordinarily I'm not a fan of this universe, but I have to say, I was very surprised by Pedro Pascal's performance. And people say he's oversaturated and he's in too much stuff, but I have to say, he really can fire a laser gun and protect Grogu like nothing else. I'm excited to see where this goes. And I just can't. I can't bring myself to do that. That's so that's more humiliating than anything else. Or like, knowing me, It would be like writing reviews of bands that no one cares about after their bassist leaves. Of like, I'll tell you something. I believe that the Peter the bassist of the Clagan Ephronitonites, he really brought an energy to the song "Living on the Prayers of Will." And I just think we wouldn't get anything like that if he hadn't left the band. It would be that kind of stuff, and I'm in a constant battle with myself because I'm just the most earnest person in the world, to a sad degree. And you can't just expect anyone to care about your opinion wholesale. That's why I filmed this in the garden with no one else here, because no one can hear it, and upwards of 18 people will see this. For me, I just think the classier thing to do with any opinion you have is what I did this morning, which is write all my feelings about the season 4 finale of The Sopranos in a notebook that I will show to no one. Maybe after a couple of bottles of wine with Michael Gandolfini. But that's the classy thing to do. Write it, burn it, put it in a drawer. It came down to actually so basically, okay, so I was doing comedy on these different things, doing sorts of some paid spots, some trial spots, mostly open mics. And I just went on like that for a while. And I think it took me a while to find out, like, so my first Edinburgh show was last year, and that was after about 5 or 6 years of performing, because I was just like, I was thinking about quitting, and I was like, what haven't you done? You haven't done an hour. And if you were 20 years down the line as like an investment broker or something, on a third marriage, on a terrible bed somewhere, that's the thing you would regret. You'd be like, oh, I never did that. I never really did that. So I was like, I'll do the hour and just send off all this material, then I can write fresh, which absolutely happened. And what was really fun about it was that working on it brought me this new creative energy and like made me excited for writing new stuff and getting new ideas out, which I think really is where my heart lies. Like, if I go back to think like what kept me coming back, it was this thing of feeling like I had something or some kind of expression or particular way of seeing something and bringing it to people, and then trying to prune it and find ways to make it funny, which is what it is. And it's maybe sentimental, but I do think that there was this rush of it, and recently had it where I was just doing almost all new, and now there's this weird, and it's just still very invigorating and very exciting, even when you're talking about literally nothing. And that's when you need to tap into the holistic kind of greater joke the cosmos has for you when you're dying. I've died so many times on stage. But fundamentally, there's a sort of Schadenfreude in the comedy show that's supposed to be funny that is not in fact funny. And you have to sort of believe that. Because if you didn't, you probably would just stop and do nothing. And I think something is better than nothing. So I feel as well, I just end up in so many situations and meet so many people you wouldn't meet otherwise through comedy. Like, for me, again, it's more sentimental, but like I've met some really good friends and some really meaningful relationships that told me stuff that really taught me things, and I'm very grateful for. And at the same time, you also have some of the most burnt out, bitter, raw up people who still feel the need to give you an inspiring speech to keep going. Like, this has happened a couple times now, that people think that it's like just what you're supposed to do is to tell people to keep writing and to keep going. But there was a guy, like, we were driving back from a gig, and he didn't even look at me in the eye. He was just like, yeah, the thing is, you got to keep trying, you got to keep going, because like you're always getting better, always. Like, he couldn't have given a fuck. He was thinking about the bump of coke he had back home, or like, he was thinking about, finally able to buy like a perfect Armani shirt. Like, he wasn't plugged into it. Was just this kind of, because none of us did well on this show as well, so it was just really funny. It was like, yeah, I guess I need to clock in for my shift of inspiration. I'm on my third girlfriend post-divorce in a small flat, but listen, buddy, let me tell you that we're doing the same thing, and you could be like me one day. Like, I just think it's like a weird thing. And as much as well, I guess on the side thing of this, as much as you meet loads of people, there is also this very surreal thing you have of knowing people for years without ever really being close with them or friendly with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you'll see them every now and again, and you'll spend like you must have you've known someone for years, but you have no idea who they are really. Which is just odd. It's just an odd way to be, I think. And lots of very sweet people and lots of very meaningful people, and just all truly all walks of life. Anyway, you also have where was I at? What was I at? I don't really want to talk about process or anything like that because I don't think there really is any process. And I think most people who sell stand-up comedy courses or writing joke courses are charlatans and scammers. You can literally do whatever you want. That's the whole point. But I will say, I guess I could talk more about Fringe. So yeah, I did my first show, and I set myself, after thinking I was going to quit, I set myself a 2-year goal of doing the show. So I did a work in progress show on the Free Fringe, and that was really exciting, just because like people showed up, and you just have your sort of little stall to sell bits and bobs to, almost. And like if people show up, that's amazing, and you get to try new stuff and really see the sum of everything you have, which is really cool. Although I did have some toughies there too, because it's a Free Fringe, anyone can walk in, and people don't really understand what it is, and they're just kind of like heckling and talking and stuff. There was one guy where, like, for some reason, right, him and his friends thought that he had a connection with me, or that me performing was like him, even though we did not seem similar at all. And they kept just talking, and then they'd keep just talking over it, not really getting show etiquette, I guess. And then afterwards, they were just like, oh yeah, man, we were just trying to be nice. But it was a weird one for me of like, I kept trying to slam them, and then they'd keep talking, thought it was part of it. So it was just a nightmare. Similarly, I've had some bad shows in Glasgow. This is just the bad show recounting. But I did this work in progress show in Glasgow, in West End Glasgow, I believe. And they weren't really there for me. They were there for the show after me. And I come on stage and I have notes. And what I find about Glasgow is, I think actually a very cool thing about Glasgow comedy crowds, which is they want you to say the most beautiful, pithy, poetic and funny thing, but completely off the dome. It's this kind of pure comedy mindset they have of like, they want you to sell this beautiful to riff one of the most perfectly structured jokes you've ever done. And I didn't have that because I had my notes and I was reading from them, and there was this guy who just kept talking with his daughter. He had this big cross and a flat cap and a zip-up jersey thing, and he just kept talking, and whenever I went to notes, he's like, he's reading off a script, and then it was properly like 20 minutes of crowd work trying, because I just couldn't get through it without him talking. And I thought his daughter would maybe be on my side, like, oh, maybe reel him in. She just sort of didn't. She almost kind of egged him on. And then there was like a woman, also there was 2 women on the front who also went into it. And just basically, like, whenever they think it's not funny, they'll just start making the jokes themselves to get the thing going. Anyway, I struggled through the show. They kind of hate it. I'm beginning. It's one of the first few times I've felt like I've lost control on stage. Like, I'm really like getting angry and can't like pull myself back. But we get through it, because I can't do angry on stage. You can probably tell. Like, I when I'm angry, it's just kind of pathetic and weird, and everyone's more just sorry for me. It's not like and I slammed that heckler and he wouldn't mess with me again because I'm Tony Soprano or whatever. It was very much like, you're ruining my big night. Like, you just can't get away from that. Anyway, at the end of the show, I made about 80 quid because they all came up and gave a donation. They were just like, oh, fair fucks, mate, you tried it. And the guy, after he gave me his money, the main heckler, he comes over and I'm like, okay, maybe he's going to apologize now. Maybe this is it. And he shakes my hand and he goes, I just didn't fucking get it, like that. And then walks away. And I just laughed at that point. And I just laughed at that point. He said somberly, It was just enough, but it was a very freeing, like, it was like, this is all silly, this is all a ridiculous thing. Like, I traveled on a coach there during the day for the show. I was traveling back through the night on a coach. So it was just sort of dizzying. And then I think I got a free drink, and it sort of was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm out. 80 quid, that'll do you. So we did all that, and then I did the show. I self-produced my show, which was which I can't advise, because you do, all the money is yours afterwards. And I have friends who were like 10k in debt from doing the Fringe, and that just didn't cut the mustard. That's just insane for what you can do. But I managed to get some nice reviews. I managed to make money. I just really do drink the Kool-Aid of the Edinburgh Festival. I think it really was. I have a very kind of fairy tale vision of it. Mostly because it's a very fairy tale town. You walk around Edinburgh, it's like a pop-up book. You know, it's all sprawling, and there's all these little nooks and crannies and everything else. But you don't really, and you can, again, we're getting sentimental, but like, you know, everyone's, even at whatever level, everyone's here trying to sell their show and trying to sell how they want to express themselves, and either say something or not say something, or entertain people, or all this stuff, which I think is just good for the soul. That said, I did go fully insane because my show was at 10 p.m. I was tired most times, so I would drink a Jimmy's Strong iced coffee about 9:30, and then would go out after that. And I was also flyering for 2 hours a day, doing 4 shows a day to promote the show, and then doing the final show, and then you know, just all this stuff. And you just get so burnt out, you get so tired. I remember my wife came to visit halfway through, which is really nice, and we had a really lovely 2 weeks. It was very grounding. It was like right when it was needed, sort of thing. You know, and but I was still just so tired and so worn out. And I remember my mother-in-law was staying with us afterwards, and I just was like, I almost couldn't be around. I was just like, I can't be around people. Like, I couldn't go to sleep at normal times. Like, I just felt so tired and so burnt out. And I was literally just like, we'd have plans. I'd be like, guys, can I just walk through the streets barefoot for a while? I can't. My whole worth was put into a thing. But what I will say, all of that, you're very worn out, but very satisfied, because I knew everything I was doing was contributing to the show, which I really loved, and it was a show I really cared about and put all my energy into. And that's what I hope people get from it who are there now, because it's just, everything else is gravy after that, honestly. And it's much better. I think in creating anything, you have to set your own boundaries and not get caught up with there's a lot of the rat race of awards and bollocks and everything else, and I just think you can only be satisfied with what you make for what it is. Oh god, I really didn't want to get into that stuff. So I guess the takeaway about doing comedy is really, you can't quit, but you also can't be miserable about not quitting. You can't be scared, but if people yell at you, it's scary and you get upset. And you can sell a show, but you should just have no expectations. I think that's what comedy teaches. You just have zero expectations, because then if something good happens, it's amazing, and if something bad happens, it's a story. And that'll be my next Village Iliot podcast policy for this episode. Thanks for indulging me. This was really nice, actually. I'm on the waiting list for Hackney Talking Therapy, so this YouTube channel will have to do. Maybe one episode we'll do a kind of Sopranos-esque thing where I tell you I love you and then yell at you about my son and everything else. It's a really good show and you should watch it. Take care, everybody. I've been